The cost of everyday items such as clothing, coffee, and electronics may rise as President Trump's sweeping new tariffs on nearly 90% or 90 countries took effect at midnight. Of course, we interviewed Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, an hour or two ago. And Secretary Bessent said that a lot of the tariff costs are being basically eaten by the countries that are shipping them over, by the companies shipping them over, and he believes the other half or a portion of it will be handled by those in the United States. There are others, though, who are saying we're already seeing the inflationary effects of this new tariff regime. NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans has more on what's ahead for U.S. consumers with these tariffs.
The global economy reset overnight. President Trump's trade war escalated. His new wave of wide-ranging tariffs going into effect at midnight, with American consumers set to feel it. On social media, the president celebrating the tariffs, which will hit 90 countries. The U.S. imposing a baseline 10% tax on most countries' exports, but the tariffs on products from many, like Canada, Brazil, and some European countries, will be higher.
We have a country that is going to be very rich. It's a country that we're very proud of, but it's going to be very rich.
The new tariffs could raise prices on popular products like clothing made in Asia, groceries including coffee, bananas, and orange juice from Brazil facing a steep 50% tariff. Wine from France and chocolate and cheese from Switzerland. That country and the White House failing to make a last-minute deal this week. And electronics will also be affected. Notably, Trump announced a 100% tariff on all chips and semiconductors coming into the United States, but offering one exception for companies building in the U.S.
If you've made a commitment to build, or if you're in the process of building, as many are, there is no tariff.
Standing next to Apple CEO Tim Cook, who pledged to invest more in the U.S. Though experts say that building iPhones here unrealistic because of the high price. Last night, the newest step in Trump's ongoing trade war that's seen shifting deadlines and negotiations since April. The tariffs have brought money into the U.S., as the president promised, but the rising prices have made their mark. The Yale Budget Lab estimating that all the tariffs will cost the average American family around $2,400 this year. President Trump says countries will still negotiate, but for now, he's staying the course.
Our country is a very different country than it was 6 months ago.
I think everybody would agree with that. It is a much different country than it was 6 months ago. These tariffs, though, again, that were set last night at midnight, highest rate for tariffs since 1935, on average 17% for countries that we trade with. So, Ed Luce, we have been reading reports for quite some time that these tariffs were going to be inflationary. We're seeing the Yale I think Business Lab or whatever they call it. They don't allow the Budget Lab. Thank you, Alex. They don't allow me on the campus. So, or any Ivy League campus for that matter. But they say it's going to cost the average U.S. family $2,500. Right now, though, over the last 3 months, I checked, inflation's been between 2.3 and 2.7% on an annualized basis. So we haven't felt it yet, just like the markets have absorbed the shock of Liberation Day, as President Trump called it. What do you foresee in the coming months? Do you think that the massive U.S. economy will continue to be able to absorb these tariffs without much of an impact for consumers?
So I think we have seen some signs of inflation ticking up. And of course, the slowing jobs market and the revision to previous month's jobs reports is very much related to the business uncertainty, which has reduced hiring. The businesses don't like uncertainty. And we've got these tariffs kicking in today, but we've still got no deal with China. And China, is such a huge piece of the global economy that until businesses know where they're going to source their products from and what those products are going to cost, what tariff rates are going to come from their imports from China, there's going to be more uncertainty, all of which is bad for the animal spirits that sort of drives business investment. Look, I don't think we're going to get hyperinflation. But the early hit of tariffs has been eaten more by companies than passed on to consumers. That's certainly true.
Right.
Over time, though, more and more of that's going to show up in retail prices, and the consumer will feel the hit. And this will reduce growth, and we've seen signs of that already. And I think there will be more pressure from President Trump on Jerome Powell to cut interest rates, and there will be just as much reluctance from the Fed chair to do so with these sort of creeping higher retail prices. So it's not a good picture, but it's not it's not a sort of overnight catastrophe either.
No, it's not as bleak as many were predicting, let's say 3, 4, 5 months ago. The stock markets, NASDAQ, the Dow, they've absorbed most of the shock of the tariffs. And the question is, if Wall Street's not feeling it, when will Main Street feel it in a significant enough way to change the policy? I don't think we're quite there yet, but maybe that hasn't happened, Ed, because, as you have said, China is, we economically, we're in a bipolar world. The United States are a tripolar world, if you count the EU, but the United States may be the strongest economy, but China is extraordinarily important. And Donald Trump has, while talking tough on tariffs and being tough for a lot of countries, he has tread a bit more lightly on China, perhaps because he understands what a key player China is. You actually have a piece out explaining that and explaining how he actually is helping China. Explain to our viewers watching what you mean by that.
Well, so if you look at the threats that Trump made to increase tariffs on India to 50%. India has now, for 25 years, been a bulwark against China. The late Clinton administration, the Bush Jr. administration, the Obama administration, Trump's first term, Biden. India's been a key piece on the chessboard for the United States as a counterbalance to China. Now, I mean, I used to be based in India for the Financial Times, so I have a lot of Indian friends. I've not seen this degree of sort of panic and concern over whether America is still with India, still counts Indian success as American success. In the last few days, there's been this real just sense of perplexity in New Delhi that Trump is not with them, that his threats against Narendra Modi, who thought he was a friend of Trump, his threats to impose punitive additional tariffs of 100% on Indian oil imports from Russia without threatening the same on China, that imports more Russian oil, by the way, but he's not targeted China on that. The nice things that Trump has been saying about Xi Jinping and about China, the fact that he's imposing higher tariffs on Taiwan and saying, look, you've just got to pay for your defense. Australia, they're reviewing the so-called AUKUS deal, which was this nuclear submarine deal that the Biden administration struck with Australia and Britain. America's allies in the Indo-Pacific feel that they're being treated worse than China. So there is real angst around the region that America is just no longer there. America under Trump is no longer there. And that is particularly acutely felt in India.